8:51 is the time, though. Let's talk about, well, a real hair shirters. I mean, like basically with a begging bowl going to the EU, going, oh, please, can we have some more? Well, that, it seems to me, is what Keir Starmer's going to do today. He's going to be, well, he's already in Paris. He's going to be meeting with Emmanuel Macron, the French president. We know that a couple of things he's going to want to talk about are those channel migrants coming across on boats. How do we send them back? And also a possibility of a better EU trade deal. He says he needs to do that for his own teenage children. Well, let's talk about this with Kate Hoey. Baroness Hoey, of course, was a leading light in the Brexit campaign. She's now an independent peer. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Julia.
Thank you very much indeed. Well, I think we're all encouraged by a man who, as Shadow Brexit Secretary, tried to undermine the referendum vote from 2016 for 3 years, going to Macron to ask for a better deal. How far do you trust his ability to get one?
Well, I think being realistic, the European Union, while they might be pleased to see a more Europhile Prime Minister of the United Kingdom next year, if that happens, I don't think they're in any mood to tinker or change the agreement that's already there, particularly as Keir Starmer has said, if we can believe him, that he's no intention of going back into the single market or the customs union. Now, without that, quite frankly, I'm not sure that the European Union will want to change anything.
Well, no, the whole point of the single market is these 4 pillars. And if you want to have completely free trade go on goods and services, you have to have completely free labour movement. And that is something the British people have said they don't want.
Yes, and of course his eye is very much at the moment on the red wall seats who were so strongly pro leaving the European Union, and he's trying to play sort of 2 sides at once. He's got a very Remain establishment within his party. He's a strong, solid EU supporter, whatever he says, and yet he knows that he's got rank and file members and also very, very many constituencies where they may not feel that the leaving has delivered as much as they hoped as soon as they'd hoped, but they certainly don't want to consider going back in. And, it's interesting because normally when someone becomes a prime minister, they go off around the world. I've always found it amazing. It's almost the first thing prime ministers do is travel rather than actually tackling the problem.
But it's so much easier, isn't it, to get on a plane and go and shake hands and get all the photo ops, and they think that makes them look busy and important, whereas actually we'd rather they were sitting behind their desk doing the job.
He thinks he's becoming, statesman before he is a statesman in that sense. But I don't. The reality is, of course, the person he's meeting today in France is unlikely to be there in a year and a half's time. The European Union is changing so much at the moment that I think it's all up in the air. And if I was Keir Starmer, I would imagine that the best thing would have been to have kept quiet about all this.
Well, except he can't keep quiet because people don't trust him on this. And my thing is he's entitled to have voted Remain and campaigned for Remain and say he would rather we were back in the EU and had a better deal. What he wasn't entitled to do as a democratically elected MP and shadow cabinet member in all those years from 2016 to 2019 was to campaign to undermine and to stop the actual enactment of that referendum vote. I mean, I consider that, in my view, that makes him unfit for public office. I'm very old-fashioned on these things.
No, I understand it, Julia, and I sat through and watched him single-handedly turn Labour Party policy to wanting another referendum before we'd even managed to leave properly. And, I'm afraid, and a lot of my good friends still in the Labour Party, and I'm not, of course, will not like me saying it, but I really do not trust him. And I certainly don't trust him on anything to do with the EU and Europe. So I think people need to be realistic about this. There isn't this great enthusiasm for Labour across the country. No. Obviously, there's
the Tories are rubbish. They can't be any worse. Rather than I can't wait for Keir Starmer to get in. He's going to be a great prime minister. I don't know anyone who thinks that.
It's not like going back in '97 when there was no doubt about it. Tony Blair. There was enthusiasm. There was excitement. There is not excitement about Keir Starmer becoming Prime Minister.
Indeed. Really good to talk to you, Baroness Kate Hoey. Always good to have a chat with you. Thank you for that.